Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited to actually be filming something instead of just editing and uploading. So really excited about today, especially because I'm going to be talking about the new show in Disney's Animal Kingdom, which is the Jungle Book show. So let's talk Disney. Going to be a review of the Jungle Book show. Now this is obviously all in my opinion, and there have been pretty much mixed feelings on this, is just from what I've heard, and definitely from seeing it I can understand why. So before I get into all of the pros and cons, I would just like to kind of explain what it is for those of you who do not know. So the Jungle Book show is currently a show in Animal Kingdom that has replaced for the moment River of Lights. Now, for those of you who don't know, River of Lights was going to be the new nighttime show in Disney's Animal Kingdom after they extended their hours. They wanted a new show, but they had some technical difficulties with it, and construction kept getting pushed back until the opening date came, and it just wasn't quite ready. So for the summer, they put in place this show that is themed around the live-action film, The Jungle Book. So definitely, you can kind of tell that it was a last-minute decision, but I'll get into that later. So, on with what the show actually is. It's basically a water show, singing and dancing, all kind of combined into one to tell the story of the Jungle Book. So I'm going to quickly insert a clip right here, and you guys can kind of see a little bit of what I'm talking about. Can't learn to be you, come on, now let's go! Hey, hey. Oh yeah. Now you might think it's ridiculous that we, a Gigantopithecus, would ever dream that like to see with the likes of humankind. But together we have the powers, all the jungle's treasure is ours. I got the side, you got the fire, the dream that dream takes you. Oh, me too. I wanna be like you. I wanna walk like you. I'm going to start with the cons, because we always want to end on a happy note. So, definitely, one of the first cons, probably for me, just had to have been my whole experience. Kind of drained me before the show even started. Now, this has nothing to do with really Disney in particular, it just had to do with my personal experience when I was at the show. So the night we went was, I believe, only the third night they had been showing, had actually been showing the show. So basically we got fast passes because who wants to stand in a line for 3 hours waiting for a show? No, not about that. I'm gonna go ride Expedition Everest and come back. So my dad went to stand in line while my mom and I were on Expedition Everest because the line started getting kind of long, which we thought was kind of odd. So we get in line, and you know, they have one of the cast members with the fast pass line starts here kind of thing, and it was starting to wrap around, getting really long. And keep in mind, we were still there probably a good 30 minutes before they were even going to open the gates to let everybody in. And we were wondering why it was so busy. Well, you see, a rainstorm had passed through that night, and we had the second showing. Well, the first showing had gotten canceled, and they were honoring all the fast passes for that. So it was so long to the point where they were telling standby that there's a very good chance that they wouldn't even get let in, and that fast pass would start having to go through some of the standby seating because there just wasn't enough room. Thankfully that didn't happen, and I'm pretty sure some standbys did get in, but it was also going to be raining later. So we're standing in line, and people keep coming by telling us like, oh, you know, we're not sure if you're actually going to get to see the show because there's still more thunderstorms on our radar and we don't want to let you guys in. So they're like blowing off all the seating, wiping it all off. They eventually let us in, and they're still saying, you know, we're not sure if we're going to go through with the show. Feel free to sit down, but we're not sure. And it got to about probably 5 minutes after the show should have started, and we were starting to get worried. But they did end up showing the show, obviously, as you can see, because I did get to see it. But I feel like that was just really stressful, knowing that if the show would have gotten canceled, we would have wasted a whole fast pass for that day. 2, after all of that, possibly not getting let in because there would be too many people with both shows that we wouldn't be able to get in. And honestly, if I was in standby, I would have been really mad if I would have been standing there for 3 hours to find out that I probably wasn't going to get let in to the second show, because obviously there was a giant line of people who couldn't even get into the first show. So it was just a lot of stress, just wondering if we were going to get to see it. So that was kind of annoying, but at the same time it also felt like it made it more special, kind of really getting to see it after I thought I wasn't going to be able to see it. So that's just my personal experience with the show that kind of gave me more of a negative vibe to it, but that had nothing to do with the actual show. It was more of just an experience. So that brings me to my first real con, which is that fast passes can be an issue. So if you're the type of person who likes to go on rides after rides after rides, and rides are more important to you, then skip out on the show, don't worry about it. But if you do like seeing all the shows, like I personally do, this is a show that I would say is 100% worth it to get a fast pass for, because like I said, being that it is only there for a limited time, there are tons of people waiting in line hours before it starts to see it. So if you don't have a fast pass, you're really risking not getting in, and then you're also wasting a bunch of your park time because you're waiting in line versus getting on a ride. So I do recommend fast passes. The biggest con for me, however, was the seating. The seating is really awkward. Now, for most of you guys, you probably know that shows normally for fast passes have a certain section set off for fast passes. Well, this fast pass seating is awkward because the way the show is set up is in front of each section of seating, there are dancers. And then all the way to the right, there are water projections. Well, in the middle are singers. So the way it's set up is it's kind of like in a diamond shape. So they're seating over here and they're seating over here, but there's no seating right here, and that's where all the singing is. So pretty much no one has a really good view of the singers. Everybody can see their dancers, but unless you have a fast pass, you can't see the water, which is half of the show, more than half the show, I would say, because that is the thing that is projecting the story of the Jungle Book. So you don't really get to see that, and for me, I'd be very confused if I wasn't seeing all of that. So with it being half the show, that just also goes to show that fast passes are worth it, because that is probably the best seat that you will get. Another con and pro, kind of, is that most of the show is a projection of the movie. So if you haven't seen the movie, it's probably not best for you to do that first. You should probably see the movie first. But it's just clips from the movie. I really expected them to kind of redo something on the water or make it really spectacular, and it just wasn't. It was just clips from the movie, and then they would sing a song about it. So it kind of wasn't what I expected for the water projections, but at the same time, if you love the movie The Jungle Book, which I loved, it's still nice to kind of see that projected on water, and I think it's really cool how they did it. My last con is that there were no real wow factors. Now this brings me back to what I was saying earlier about how, you know, this was kind of a last minute decision. Disney said, okay, we need to put a show in, probably like a month beforehand, and they came up with this. So for the fact that it was pretty much created on such a short time frame, that makes it a better show, knowing that. So I do think it was a good show. It just was really lacking in that wow factor that Disney usually gives off. Now I can get into the pros, the happy, exciting things. So my first pro, which I noted the second I got in there, is that they use water projection, and I love water projection. When we went to Disneyland, California, I absolutely loved World of Color. It was my favorite show ever, just because I thought it was so cool how they could project all that stuff on water and just give off so many emotions with all the color, and just, it was just so pretty to me, and I loved it. And that's also something that Fantasmic does. Fantasmic projects things on water, and I don't know why. Maybe it's the inner mermaid in me. I just absolutely love when they project things on water. So that was definitely a huge pro for me. The other pro is that Animal Kingdom, you know, now that they have these hours, these extra hours to spend at night in the park, I think it is absolutely wonderful that they incorporated a show. And I think it's cool how Animal Kingdom has really a special show that you can only see in Animal Kingdom. Because I mean, the Jungle Book and Animal Kingdom kind of go hand in hand. And I think that for Animal Kingdom, it was very well themed, and it's just good that they now have a show for you to watch there. Another is that it did a really good job at really capturing like the Jungle Book as it is and turning it into something more. I personally am a big fan of the Jungle Book, and I know my family is too. So seeing that put into a show is really awesome, especially because I feel like Jungle Book, up until this new live action movie, was really forgotten and people don't really talk about it that much. So to have it in a show, I think they did a wonderful job kind of incorporating all of that into the show. My last pro is that the singers are phenomenal, the dancers are great, and you really get to capture that culture that they try to bring in. And they are very talented, and although the show lacked its wow factor, it was still a great show because Disney doesn't really ever disappoint. So if you're into like really the musical aspect of Disney, which who isn't, then definitely go see it because it was wonderful. So before I go, I just want to give my overall rating of the show, which would probably be about a 6.5 or a 7, because once again, it doesn't meet up to Fantasmic's expectations or wishes, but it definitely still is a really good show. So I do recommend that if you do like any Disney show, to go see it, because once again, it's only going to be there for a limited time. So if you are going over the summer, I would recommend going because who knows how long it's going to be there. River of Lights could start working in the fall and Jungle Book could go away. So definitely fast pass it and go see it. Alright, I hope this was helpful and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you guys next week. One more thing before I go. I'd also like to thank everybody who's subscribed to me from watching my Disney World haul video that's almost up to 3,000 views, and I never thought that that would happen. So I know it sounds cheesy because there are only like 40 subscribers, but it means the world to me that you guys care to watch my videos. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next week.